Good morning and Modern Va. Thank you firstly, Maria Palambini. Meeting you at a conference in our home state of New Jersey made all the difference. I sat happily at your round table. Blockchain was the title. We knew immediately we were on the same course, finding ways to make blockchain work for patient and pharma communities. I remember you cupped your hand in a fist and you said, Jean, you have the opportunity to reach patients, and that will make all the difference in the work we are doing. My side of the work always begins with my dad, Jack Burke. He joined the Prudential Insurance Company in 1938. He took time to fight in France and Germany in World War II, and then he settled back down in Newark, New Jersey, working the large computer mainframes of the 1950s and 60s. He was arguably a first senior method analyst, turning the containers of files and file cabinets of people's insurance data into information which passes easily through the conduits of technology. This was the 1950s, and this means that I have always been in technology, more closely aligned with my grandchildren in Generation Z than as a baby boomer. It turned out Maria and I both knew Robert Chu of Emblema, who helped to make this conference possible. Blockchain. I began hearing about it. There were the bad parts. Bitcoin had blockchain behind it, and it was tanking. A red flag, my very successful son-in-law involved in the stock market told me. And yet I was noticing good things. A brewery in Zambia had blockchain behind it, paying the farmers in tokens to grow cassava and bring it to the brewery. Jobs are being created, I thought. A group of at-risk students in Costa Rica now have identity and certification through blockchain, and they are able to get jobs. And most especially, I've been watching the immigrants in countries like Finland who are receiving identity through this new technology. I wonder if it will work in my own country's borders. And today, we will show you how and when my patient community fits with Emblema's patient truth. As a math and computer science teacher, I began designing websites in the late 1990s, which brings me here today with a very vibrant online patient community. I do not have cystic fibrosis, but I have cysticfibrosis.com, which came to me by way of 100 or more medical domains, which I purchased in 1996. My business partner had CF, and hence I bought cysticfibrosis.com, putting up message boards right away. The forums have been active for 23 years, along with social media, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram following along. Since I have been reading the millions of messages saved on the forum since 2003, I do declare myself an expert. I long to find the right technology for the community. I get excited with each new passing device which may make a difference in their lives. And I hope you will agree that blockchain may just be the answer we are looking for. You will learn 3 things from this presentation. You will meet a very vibrant cystic fibrosis community. You will be convinced that they have an unmet need, and you will be inspired to think of ways that you can help. To explain a little more about the surveys and the research I have done, I will be using the research from 2 recent surveys. The first one, I collected the data from October 2017 till April 2018, and it is titled Discovery, Research, and Profit. It was written with Corey Nislow of the Genetics Lab at the University of British Columbia. The second one I did in the past month. It is aptly named Blockchain and Clinical Trials. Some background about the survey. The first one is that 1,219 participants took the survey. close to half and half patients and caregivers. I think it's interesting about the ages that this is not really a childhood disease anymore. The ages of the patients were between 19 and 44 was more than 50%. Most of the participants came from the United States. However, there were 34 countries involved. Canada, Australia, South Africa, and the UK had 2% and Ireland 1%. To begin this story, I love using one of my favorite metaphors, the Wizard of Oz. And in fact, cystic fibrosis begins with a cyclone, and the diagnosis is definitely life-changing. One of our members, David with CF, a geneticist himself, claims, "Things are happening in our lifetime that would be unethical to study in a healthy person, making our community and ones with similar chronic diseases a perfect study. This is a genetic disease, and identities become attached to the 2 or even more mutations on the CFTR gene, and even perhaps other genes. There are more than 2,000 mutations and counting. You will now see the community's many other defining characteristics." We asked the community, "Do you know your CF mutations?" And indeed they do. Different countries have access to different types of tests. One member from Pakistan states, "Only double delta F508 mutation test is available here. I have that mutation, but there are many patients who don't know their mutations." And another caregiver from Israel says, "Now Israel tests for 14 mutations." Since there are over 2,000 mutations on the CFTR gene, we wondered if the community knows how many mutations for which they were tested. 45% did not know. 8% claim less than 23, 28% the CF standard of 23 to 40 mutations, and 6% had the more comprehensive genetic sequencing test known as the NGS. I bet you're wondering now, how do patients keep track of all the valuable data they are contending with? We asked them, "How do you keep these records?" Surprising answers. 30% keep no records. 50% keep paper or hard copy, and I'm familiar. I've been to their homes and I've seen the filing cabinets and the refrigerator doors filled with clips and magnets. Some, 32%, keep digital type spreadsheets, and only 16% are technically on mobile devices. Participants were allowed in this category to answer more than one. When we asked them, "What apps do you use?" 64 participants listed 6 different apps. You can see here that MyChart got the most votes. MyChart is a specific hospital app, and the major disadvantage is that most patient portals is their linkage to a single health organization. If a patient uses more than one organization for healthcare, the patient normally needs to log onto each organization's portal to access information. And for CF patients, this would provide a fragmented view of individual patient data. None of the listed apps provide a comprehensive look and a patient-driven management system. At this point, the Scarecrow is looking to wrap his brain around so much information left in cabinets and containers and filing cabinets. And now, Emblemus technology, Patient Truth, can organize the data into information owned by the patient on their cell phone. This disease may be recognized through different symptoms on the lungs, gastro, sinuses, pancreas, or perhaps one of the different types of tests spots the two mutations needed for diagnosis right away. One member, still looking for his second mutation, tells us Johns Hopkins database of over 2,000 mutations found his one mutation, D1152H, and now he is in the Johns Hopkins special study to find mutations on 3 other genes believed to affect CF. At this point, their care is dependent on many different healthcare professionals. The CF Center becomes an anchor point with many allied health professionals and the pulmonologist leading the team. Though distance to available clinics is a problem with many patients, like one of our members, Alex, from Arizona, who travels 4.5 hours one way to her satellite clinic. Now we ask them the big question: what data are you already or willing to collect? Medication came up first. Not surprising. Patients with CF can be on 40 different medications at one time. Then there are the comorbidities and breathtaking concerns: lung transplants, pregnancy, allergies, asthma, CFRD, CF-related diabetes, gastrointestinal issues, pancreatitis, infections, sinusitis, gene mutations and their significance, tests and procedures, pulmonary function tests, fecal tests, fat tests, blood tests, CT scans, bronchoscopies, sputum cultures, medications, adverse effects, aerosol delivery systems, port and PICC lines for intravenous drugs, G-tube feedings, chest physical therapy, mucus clearance, clinical trials, research in progress, fundraising, social and home care elements such as school protocol, exercise, nutrition, safe cleaning of equipment, and there's more. You can see why we are now officially in Oz. There is a new identity, even a new set of linguistics as CFers, as they refer to themselves, now clearly are identified by their DNA mutations and their pulmonary function scores. And the CF centers are commissioned to take these 21 categories and give an assessment to the Cystic Fibrosis Foundation once a year for all their patients. This, according to nurse Tamika Grubbs, is an opportunity for miscalculations to be entered. It is unfortunate because these assessments are the data that is sold to pharma. And the job is laid out. They are professional patients, as one member refers to all his cohorts. The Tin Man in search of a heart. This is my favorite. Persons with CF cannot be together due to cross-infections. So the community site developed in 1996 has meaning beyond the usual tribe development. A virtual tribe is mandatory for this online community. The community at cf.com and beyond into the many social media hotspots has been a touchstone for questions and answers with health opinion leaders on the many categories that mean CF. They call themselves CFers, and they identify themselves with their mutations and their PFT scores. They even have a dialect that includes linguistics that only they understand immediately, involving all the breathtaking categories of their disease. It is a touchstone for questions that come in globally, and the healthcare opinion leaders are a study in brilliance, generosity, and empathy as they lead the discussions and find the answers which so often lead to more questions. 3 million messages are searchable and saved in our database since 2003. They came by way of their expertise by their DNA. Just breathing becomes their job. As a site founder and owner, I always hire health opinion leaders from the site if I have the funds, and this slide holds my business card, a bit of a sacramental for me, designed by a very talented businesswoman with CF in South Africa. When we are lucky, Lene works with me, designing the site and newsletters, keeping me from going crazy. Oh, and the lion, take courage. They take heart as new drugs are developed, and yet some guilt may be involved as some get invited into clinical trials depending on their mutations. They wish for all to have the hope of a new drug that may bring a cure. We ask those who have been involved in clinical trials, would you like to contribute even more? 73% agree. One member said, if we can work around schedules, out of school, work hours, and no hospital stays. And we asked them about data privacy. And yes, they care about the app's privacy, where the data is stored, and especially if their data was being sold without them knowing about it. 73% cared about that, and 68% would stop using the app at that point. When we asked them how far have they traveled for a clinical trial, the responses were a full gamut, as you can see here, from 5 miles to 40,000 kilometers times 18, 72,000 kilometers, of course, by plane. And we wondered, after all, if compensation would matter. This could change the marketplace for this community and others with valuable patient data. 68% said yes to sharing their data for compensation. 33% said yes without compensation. 29% liked the idea of part of their compensation going to a charity of their choice. And 5% said no to any compensation. We had lots of comments for this one, and of course throughout the survey. My favorite one for this is, private industry is going to benefit financially, and compensation levels the field. The potential wealth in genomic data is beyond comprehension. This brings me to author Frank Baum's Wizardry and the Emerald City. The approach is daunting, and I wonder if out of our curtain will appear just some real people, just like all of you, at work doing marvelous things. Scientists and patients and caregivers and pharma and biotech, and as one of our members claims, this is an exciting concept to open communication between the actual creators, scientists, and patients without using the doctors as translators. I think this will open a new world of info and products to make our lives healthier and easier. Thank you. I know you are convinced by now that this cystic fibrosis community is on board and ready to take charge of their data in new ways using the technology of patient truth. And a member from our team, Cohen Winkerhartz, a dad with a young son with CF, is also working professionally with blockchain and with the Robert Chu team. He is from Belgium. We have formed a 20-member pilot group. They include a caregiver from North Dakota, her son born with CF, with a blockage of the small intestine. He was rushed to a neighboring state for care, and now he is a strapping high school freshman. His mom joined our forums immediately when he was born, and now she has over 25,000 postings. She is present. Another caregiver active on our site is a mom from the state of Maine. Her daughter with CF loves art and will be heading to college soon. Her mom wants to make sure she can continue to share in her care even from a distance. A woman just celebrating her 40th birthday from Massachusetts will join our group. She has been in 2 clinical trials for the precision medicines that have come from Vertex Pharma. She also has a 10-year-old son with CF. And a grandmother, a primary caregiver, and an attorney joins us from Indiana, and her 13-year-old grandson, who continues to do well with plenty of exercise and team sports, keeping his grandma very busy. A young male CFer from Maryland will be part of the team. He works in IT. And remember, our PhD geneticist with CF joins us from Colorado. A young woman with CF who is an app guru, combining many apps to keep her data formulated, can't wait to have a single patient truth to keep all her data. And another newly married male member with CF joins us from Tennessee. He is a videographer and made for us a beautiful video to help us understand the amazing process we are in as we join with Patient Truth on the Yellow Brick Road. And we'll end with Blake Davis's video that we can watch on YouTube.